Get ready because college football season starts next week. Hello and welcome to the Bedlam Nation Conversation. This segment is sponsored by Chevy. I'm Mike Sherman, sports editor of the Oklahoman, and joining me today is OU football beat writer Jake Trotter. Jake, even college football fans may not realize just how close we are to the start of the season. Next week in Kansas City are the Big 12 football media days. Let's talk about what people can expect from the conference this year. Our first question, what will be the big buzz at next week's media days?
I think the big buzz is going to be Bo Pelini, Nebraska. Can he bring the Huskers back from mediocrity, which is where they've been for almost a decade now. Also, the connection between Bo and Bob Stoops. They went to high school together, grew up together, and the Pelini and Stoops families have been very close for a lot of years. That's going to be, I think, one buzz. The other thing is going to be Texas Tech. This is probably, on paper, the best team Mike Leach has had since he's been in Lubbock, and they've had some good teams over the years, but with superstars like Graham Harrell at quarterback and Michael Crabtree at wide receiver, they're finally a team that has a chance to contend for the Big 12 title.
You said Crabtree will be the number one pick in the NFL draft whenever he decides to come out.
I think so.
That's big.
Because here's the deal. Last year was his first year to play wide receiver. He was a wing T quarterback in high school. He just learned the position last year, and he led the nation in all major receiving categories. Didn't even really know what he was doing. Imagine when he becomes a polished wide receiver, what he can do. And physically, he has all the tools.
Anything else at the Big 12 meetings for buzzworthy?
Well, he's not going to like this, but knowing how the regional media is going to work and the national media, Bob Stoops is going to get asked a lot of bowl questions. Now, he's been asked those questions
by us.
But now he's going to get asked by Dallas, Fort Worth, Kansas City, those media markets, because they haven't had a chance to ask him about it.
Get ready, Big 12 media. Bob's going to say, hey, look at that Big 12 championship. That's what I want to talk about. You guys talk what you want to talk about. I'm going to talk about what I want to. Speaking of talk, which teams are tagged as the favorites in the South and the North going into the season?
Well, I think it's pretty clear. Oklahoma is going to be the favorite in the South. Texas is going to be a little bit down this year, in my opinion, and Tech is still a little bit of a novelty. In the North, Missouri has a lot of offensive weapons coming back with Chase Daniel at quarterback, Jeremy Maclin at receiver, Chase Kaufman at tight end, and they bring 8 or 9 starters back defensively. Now, they weren't very good on defense, but the hopes is that they'll be an improved defense next year. If that happens, they're going to be tough to beat. Their key game is they go down to Texas this year, and that's going to be a tough game. Texas is not Roy Williams, Cedric Benson, Texas, but they're still going to be pretty good.
Going back to Tech, you said this is one of their best teams ever, but the problem for Tech is they have to play OU in Norman this year.
They get Texas in Lubbock, but they have to go to Norman, and that's been a terrible situation for Mike Leach since he's been at Texas Tech. They just haven't played OU very well, and they had to come to Norman. And OU has the revenge factor working for them as well since the Sooners lost in Lubbock last year without Sam Bradford.
You're watching the Bedlam Nation Conversation. This segment is sponsored by Chevy. Question number 3, will the winner of the Big 12 championship game, Jake, go to the BCS championship game?
I think it's very possible. The key is going to be Georgia. What does Georgia do in the SEC? Now, Georgia's probably the most talented team in the country this year. Marino at running back. They have a really nice offensive line that he can run behind, but they have kind of the death schedule. I mean, they play Tennessee, Florida, those SEC West teams. LSU, Alabama, Auburn. If they get out of that schedule with just one loss, I think they're going to go to the BCS National Championship. But if they get 2 losses, that's going to open the door for maybe a Missouri, maybe an Oklahoma. I think USC is going to look pretty good out in California if they can knock off Ohio State at home. I think that's the 3rd game of the year. That's going to be a big game for them. If they win that game, it's a pretty smooth sailing to the national championship.
Earlier you said if OU wins the Big 12 championship and is undefeated, you think they're going to go?
I think so, because I think their schedule works out where there's not a game you look on their schedule like, oh, that's going to be a tough game for them to win. They're not going to be the favorite. They're going to be the favorite every game this year. They could be 7, 8-point favorites over Texas. They get Texas Tech in Norman. College Station and Stillwater are going to be tough games because those teams always play OU well at home.
But they'll be favored in both of those games.
They'll be favored in both those games too. So you look at their schedule, Missouri in the Big 12 championship, if the Tigers get there, that's going to be the big game.
Hey, that's it for the Bedlam Nation Conversation, sponsored by Chevy. For the best coverage of college football anywhere in the country, be sure to pick up the Oklahoman and go to newsok.com. To talk with other fans about the Sooners and the Cowboys, continue the conversation on bedlamnation.com.